Hi, my name is Jo Hadley. This is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. I am a somatic therapist and counsellor, a former physiotherapist, and it was during my years treating people for physical injuries that I discovered through listening to my clients, helping my clients, but also what was happening in my own life and my own inner knowing. It became really obvious there was much more to healing and helping physical issues than what we currently were aware of. Everything we do has its place, and I'm not saying anything is wrong, but there's missing elements. I was always curious about why injuries or pain kept recurring, what kept things in place. And the more I listened to people and watched them and observed them, often people with more chronic issues, things that didn't heal quickly or kept coming back, there was a lot of underlying emotional issues or things happening in their life, circumstances in their life that would not arguably be creating a lot of chronic stress that could be contributing to their problems. I've always just been drawn to the emotional aspect ever since I was young. I had a mother who had depression, even postnatal depression and anxiety, my whole life, and probably her whole life too. A father who was an alcoholic. But I learned as a child by observing my parents that with my father, I learned very quickly that someone who is addicted has a lot of pain they're covering up. There was a lot of emotional pain, and that was true for my father. I'm not condoning the behaviour that happens when people have addictions or other things, but to look beyond just the end and understand that there's something deeper underlying it. The same with my mother. She always told me a lot about her life and understanding why she had anxiety and depression, especially during the time period that she was living when there really was no understanding of the work that I'm interested in now. So from a very young age, I was acutely aware of how context, what's happened to us, the pain in our life that we can't express or just gets trapped in our body, how that can manifest in not so positive ways. It can be detrimental to our health, but also to the people around us, because having an addict in the family definitely doesn't make for happy, harmonious relationships. So from that base, I've always been interested in what is the bigger picture. How do we heal? Even when clients kept coming back over and over with things, like, again, why are they coming back? I was always interested in healing. I did erroneously think for many years that another person can heal someone else. And I wanted to help other people and do that. But I have since learned that we don't heal other people. We can't actually change anyone else. We can only work on ourselves. The more we work on ourselves, the more we can assist others. We can only be catalysts or assistants. And I used to tell my clients as a physiotherapist that even no doctor, no physio heals you. You may have a fracture, you may need surgery, you may need a doctor or someone to put a cast on or a pin or a plate in the fracture to assist it to heal, but the healing comes from within you. Often, cuts and injuries and illnesses, they get supported by medication, but it's all there to assist our innate immune system to heal. So then I'm wondering about how people live who are very aware of themselves, are very in tune with their own innate healing ability, in tune with their lives, and they don't have as many outer issues to contend with. Some of us have a lot of outer issues and context in our life that's very, I say, non-optimal, that contributes to like a chronic stress situation. It's that chronic stress that eventually causes the chronic pain, chronic illness. I have come to believe that just about anything that's chronic and persistent has unresolved and unseen emotional and sensation issues trapped in the body. People have to be ready to release it. If you're not ready and don't have the support around you when you're releasing, it can become too threatening and too frightening. So people can come to this work, but they come in their own time. Anyone that sees me or attracted to the work I do, I know and am confident they're ready to release whatever is in their body. And it never fails to surprise me that even something that seems simple on the surface, when you go deeper, there is a lot of, deeper issues and deeper pain that people have had earlier in their life, often when they're very young. We are nothing but vibration and frequency. And whether it's in the womb or whether it's as a baby, before we develop language, we're much more susceptible to these imbalances in energy, the frequencies that aren't healing. They can get trapped in our body. A baby in the womb or a child without adequate language can't articulate this. So hence, it doesn't mean they don't feel it. It just often means if they don't have a parent or adult who is very highly attuned and regulate themselves, it can often get stuck. And as I'm always saying, there's always multiple variables. And I'm always talking very general. Because people can have atrocious lives and not be traumatized or affected. It's more about what are all the variables that add up that then can create a problem in someone's life that can get stuck or stuck inside them. And as I've wanted to pursue what this inner wisdom is, this inner voice, this inner innate healing ability, so even just saying it's an innate healing ability, it's within us, which means we all have it. It's all there. It's not like we've got to find it somewhere. It's actually within us. So then why don't we access it? Well, it gets blocked. It gets blocked by chronic stress, fear, anxiety, anything that shuts down our nervous system's ability to access these biochemicals, bioelectrical impulses that can help access this inner wisdom. You hear the words, we need to be in flow. That's true, we need to be in flow, in sync. People can't be in flow or in sync if they're chronically stressed, frightened, anxious. Every chronic illness basically has inflammation and these dysregulating emotions attached to it. So then the key to accessing our inner wisdom is to learn to switch or recognize we're in chronic fight or flight or freeze, and step by step in a gentle process, learn to recognize these and then change them and integrate them and release how they're trapped in the body. Much easier to say than to do, because these energies often feel very unpleasant. Things that get trapped in our body, it's usually not joy or love or peace that we peacefully and easily just allow to pass through us as it should. I think Michael Singer has a great analogy of what life is meant to be like. It's meant to be like, if we're in tune with our inner wisdom, we're meant to be like we're driving along the road in a car and life is just passing us by like the scenery. We can observe it, we can notice if we like it or dislike what's going by, but it's all just passing us by. We're not attaching to any of it. But when something unpleasant happens and we can't integrate it or allow it to move through, it gets stuck. And it's often below our level of consciousness, but we know it's there by looking at how is our health, how is the state of our relationships, how much pain are we in most of the time, how much struggle do we have. The more we have there, we know there's a lot of these unconscious blocks, and they're not obviously addressed. It doesn't always correspond to financial stability or access to finances, because people can be very, very wealthy and completely miserable and unhealthy. I've met and treated quite a few of those. And people can be quite poor, yet be quite in harmony and in sync. So there's many, many variables, and it's not only dependent upon finances. Though, of course, having adequate finances is always something that will make life much easier, and definitely easier to come from a base of having some financial stability than having none. That just creates a bit more stress. But yeah, it is more about perceptions and our level of awareness and consciousness. So as I've been learning, it's this level of consciousness that is key to everything. The work of Dr. David Hawkins has been amazing and seminal in my life, to allowing me to jump to a higher level of understanding. He has mapped the scale of consciousness with his research while he was alive. Using kinesiology, he has mapped all the emotions and how they influence our body and our thinking and the way we see things. So just about all his books have this list, or the map of consciousness, and you can probably find it easily on the internet. But just briefly, emotions like shame and guilt have very, very low frequency vibrations, are very constrictive and limiting. And he goes up as we get a higher level of consciousness, the vibration exponentially increases, because remember, we are nothing but energy, frequency and vibration. As a human, we are not just physical, we are also bioelectrical. We are multiple fields as well as physical. So we're also like television stations. We are picking up and receiving information from others and transmitting our own. So others are picking up our vibrations. It is science, despite the fact it can sound a bit woo-woo. And he has listed a whole lot of emotions and the corresponding levels of consciousness. At neutrality, he has at 250, he labels neutrality, which is where it's neither positive or negative. So that's where our nervous system goes from. Basically, it's between the dysregulated state and the regulated state. Anything above neutrality, like the emotions of willingness and acceptance and reason, are all much higher. And it's interesting that reason and the intellect, he lists at 400. But that is superseded by love, joy, peace, because reason only gets us so far. Reason and logic has its place, has a purpose, but it actually misses even a bigger picture. So unconditional love and inner peace, by Dr. David Hawkins' research, allows us, as we get into the unconditional love and joy so especially joy at 540 on his scale, allows healing, true healing. And that's a very interesting potential that we all have, that if we can find a way to increase our level of consciousness, and if we get high enough, we can actually access a very high ability to heal ourselves. And if we're emitting a frequency that high, we're also going to be having a positive effect on the people around us and being catalysts. We're not necessarily going to change other people, because we don't change anyone but ourselves. But if we are around people of a high vibration, a high energy, we get lifted up so we can access our own much easier. And that's how I think most of my work that I do with people actually works. The more I can go into myself and get a higher frequency and tune into my own love and peace and joy within, I allow that level of frequency to help lift others up so they can then see themselves clearer, get an access to their own so they can stay there themselves. But no one heals or changes anyone else, but we can just lift someone up. It's a bit like, if you want to look over the fence and the fence is too high, if you stand on someone or sit on someone's shoulders and peek over, you'll see it, but you still have to come back down. But at least now you know what's there, what you're aiming for. And aiming for this in your own personal development, inner development. And it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, as I know, as it frustrates me immensely at times because I'm still learning patience. I always want everything done yesterday, and I'm in a hurry, getting better, because at least I'm aware of it. But it is a journey. We all have a journey, and we go at our own pace. Sometimes it can be fast, sometimes it can be slow. But we need the journey so we can integrate and understand. If we jump too higher levels too quickly, it's just too overwhelming for our nervous system. If anyone's ever listened to some of the oneness experiences that people have, these sudden experiences of enlightenment that they have, they tend to come back down to where they are. They're changed, of course, because they've had a transcendental experience. They've seen the bigger picture. But they've often, when they describe it, it can be quite terrifying because they didn't know what they were looking at, and they didn't have language or understanding, and the rest of us, that they've come back down to our, I wouldn't say reality, but this level of consciousness where most of us live. There's not a lot of people who understand, who've seen it, so they can feel very alone and isolated. Or maybe this is just me, because I read their stories and find them a little bit scary. And I go, well, I think I'd prefer the one step at a time, getting there in my own time, slower. Though we're not always in charge of, if we have a oneness experience or which is similar to the near-death experiences, we're not always in charge about when they happen to us. What is interesting to me is a lot of the plant medicines often give these experiences that, when people describe them, are very similar to these oneness experiences. So I look at them as a way that we're tapping into this innate spiritual essence that we all have, and that isn't pie in the sky. It was interesting to listen to a podcast with Thomas Hubel and Lisa Miller recently, where Lisa Miller was discussing her research into how the brain has these areas in all of us that are related to spirituality and this connection to something bigger than just our physical form. So science is opening to this. It's becoming less woo-woo and more understood. Only by a few, a smaller group, but at least that's a start. And it's amazing, mind-expanding information, changing completely what we've usually been brought up to believe. At least this is true for me. And I find it exciting. So for me, working on my level of consciousness by cultivating these regenerative emotions within me and knowing that whatever is in me gets picked up by the outside world and actually reflected back. We're all just seeing mirrors or holograms of what is being projected outward by ourselves, our inner selves, which can be a little bit unpleasant to know and understand. It's really easy to blame others and blame the circumstances outside of ourselves. But it's interesting, and again, it's a collective thing, because I know I'm always aware that some people have huge traumas and very traumatic lives, and by talking generally, it can be a little bit unsensitive. There's multiple variables that contribute to people's lives, and multiple variables, and all of us in some way are connected. So even the terrible things that happen in the world are all happening to all of us and influencing all of us. That's why it's important that the more love we have in our hearts, the more love we have for others. And the higher up in consciousness we go, the less likely we are to harm ourselves and to harm others. And that's my personal intention for my life, to raise my consciousness, my inner awareness, be in tune and in connection with my own inner wisdom, and thus, hopefully, be a contribution of light and love to those around me. So I could go on a bit further, but I won't. I will just finish off with my quick healing meditation if you want to listen to that as well. I encourage you to just sit down or lie down, because it's important to actually tune in and be present when you do meditations, because presence and being in this moment is a really important way to access your own inner wisdom. It doesn't come in the past, it doesn't come in the future. And in fact, the more research we do, knowing that we're anxious or fearful of the future or regretting the past or guilty about the past, it's blocking access to our own healing, because it takes us out of the present moment. Of course, we can be present and feel the effects of those sensations of anxiety and fear and guilt, and that is how it helps to heal and for them to pass. But dwelling on the past or the future is largely unhelpful, and definitely isn't using and utilizing access to our inner wisdom. So as you're sitting, I invite you just to close your eyes if it's comfortable. Just feel your feet on the floor. You can wiggle your toes to feel that connection. Feel the surface that you're sitting on. Does it support you? What are your hands feeling? Are they folded on your lap? Are they touching any fabrics? Just tune into what the physical body's feeling. And just listen to the sounds that you hear all around you. Again, just be curious, non-judgmental. Just notice. Now I invite you to imagine that there's a cord going from the center of your head, and it's going out into the center of the universe, and you're plugging yourself in to the center of the universe. So now you're connected above to all that is and all around you, the whole entire universe. And below, you're feeling grounded and supported by the floor, the chair you're sitting in, the material world. And if it's comfortable, I invite you to place your hand on your heart and just breathe in and out through the heart area, or visualize breathing in and out through the heart area, a little bit lower and slower than you normally would. Just imagine you're breathing in all the love and information and support from the universe, and as you breathe out, you're allowing everything that you no longer need to hold on to flow out. Let's do 3 low, slow breaths. Breathing in all the knowledge and information of the universe, and breathing out all the limiting beliefs and patterns and energies you no longer need. Just invite you to just notice any sensations in your body. They may be pleasant, they may be just neutral, they may be unpleasant. Just encourage you just to feel and notice without trying to change them or judge them. You're safe just sitting in the chair, noticing and feeling the sensations that are arising in your body for your attention. If at any time these get too overwhelming, just open your eyes and just listen to the sounds around you, ground back into your 5 senses. Now, again, focusing on the hand and the heart, just do another 3 slow, deep breaths, breathing in through the heart, filling up every cell in your body, and just breathing out again. Breathe in and breathe out. And as you're aware of the heart area, just imagine what it would feel like in your body if you're living the life without any limitations, the life of your dreams. If nothing could stop you doing what you truly wanted to do that would make you happy, how would it feel to be living that life? Be curious about what that would feel like in your body. Do you feel open? Do you feel expansive? Do you feel light? Do you feel free? Do you feel joy, excitement, or maybe just peace? What would it feel like to be living truly from your heart? And as you contribute from your heart, you're contributing to the world. Just really tune in and feel and enjoy feeling what it would feel like to truly live this life. With no limits. The life of your dreams. It doesn't matter if you can't see what it would look like. It's much more important to know what it would feel like. Because sometimes we can't even imagine what our highest good, our highest dream would look like. But we know in our hearts what it would feel like. And it usually feels free. It usually feels expansive. It usually feels filled with joy and inner peace. Now, as we come to the end of this mini meditation, just get you to wiggle your toes and feet on the ground. You can open your eyes, move your body around, and just tune in to see, does your body feel any different than before we started this meditation? And once again, I wish you a good week, and I'll be back next week. Have a great week.